The confession in the river. Eva and Rachel walked through the warm summer fields, the tall grass swaying gently in the breeze. They had been best friends for as long as Eva could remember. It was the kind of friendship that felt timeless, like they had known each other in another life. Today they were headed to their favorite spot by the river. Rachel darted ahead, her laughter echoing through the trees. "You're it!" she shouted, her short, curly auburn hair bouncing as she spun around, her joy infectious. Eva couldn't help but smile at the sight. How could someone so beautiful, so full of life, be her best friend? "Come on, Eva. You're it. Or are you too scared to catch me?" Rachel teased, her eyes gleaming with mischief. Eva grinned, feigning a roar as she chased after her. "The big bad monster is coming for you." They reached the riverbank, kicking off their shoes and stepping into the cool water. The river was shallow, no deeper than their knees at most, and the coolness of the water was a welcome relief from the summer heat. As they waded through the stream, Rachel began talking, as she often did, about her boyfriend, Ben. Eva's heart ached with every word. Rachel and Ben had been together for 6 months now, and though Eva tried her best to be supportive, it hurt too much. Each mention of him was a reminder that Rachel's heart belonged to someone else, and no matter how much Eva tried to push her own feelings aside, they always came rushing back. "You know," Rachel said with a playful grin, "Ben thinks we should all go on double dates. He says he has a friend who's perfect for you." Eva felt her chest tighten. She forced a smile. "I don't need a boyfriend, Rach. I've got you, and that's all I need." It was the closest she'd ever come to telling Rachel the truth, that her love for her wasn't just the love of a best friend. Rachel laughed, splashing water playfully in Eva's direction. "Yeah, but don't you ever want someone to cuddle with? Someone to go on dates with, share secrets, and you know?" She wiggled her eyebrows suggestively. "All that romantic stuff." Eva rolled her eyes, trying to hide her discomfort. "Please, Rachel. I didn't realize you were such a hopeless romantic." "Come on," Rachel teased. "Don't you ever dream about it?" Eva stayed silent, hoping the conversation would drift away, but Rachel wasn't letting it go. After a while, they lay on the grass beside the river, watching the clouds roll by. "So," Rachel pressed, "do you have someone in mind? Someone you secretly dream about?" Eva sighed, feeling the weight of the moment. "Why can't you just let it go?" Rachel sat up, her curiosity piqued. "Wait, so you are in love with someone?" she said, excitement in her voice. "Come on, tell me. Who is it?" Eva could feel the panic rising inside her. She wasn't ready to confess her feelings, not like this. It's someone impossible, okay?" she muttered, hoping Rachel would drop the subject. "Impossible?" Rachel repeated, clearly confused. "How could anyone be impossible for you? You're smart, you're beautiful, you're amazing. Who is this guy?" Eva sat up, looking at the ground, her heart pounding in her chest. She couldn't hold it in any longer. The years of hiding her feelings, of pretending to be content as Rachel's best friend, were too much. "She's not a guy," Eva said softly, still staring at the ground. Rachel blinked, clearly taken aback. "Wait, she..." Eva's voice cracked as she stood up, finally unable to hold back her emotions any longer. "It's you, Rachel. It's always been you." Her hands were shaking as she looked at Rachel, tears brimming in her eyes. "I've been in love with you for years, and it's been tearing me apart every time you talk about Ben, every time you joke about setting me up with someone, because I don't want anyone else. I just want you." The silence between them was deafening. Rachel's face was a mixture of shock and confusion. Eva's heart sank, the weight of her confession heavy in the air. I don't..." Rachel began, but the words wouldn't come. Eva, unable to take it anymore, turned on her heels and ran. She ran as fast as she could, tears streaming down her face, the fields blurring around her. She didn't stop until she reached home, collapsing onto her bed in sobs. She had ruined everything. Their friendship, their years of memories, it was all gone. How could Rachel ever look at her the same way? The next day at school, Eva avoided Rachel. She sat in the back of the classroom, kept to herself at lunch, and stayed far away from their usual spots. She expected Rachel to be angry, disgusted, even repulsed by her confession. But as the day wore on, Eva noticed that Rachel hadn't said a word to anyone about it. No one gave her strange looks or whispered behind her back. It was as if the confession had never happened. Later that afternoon, as Eva was walking home, she heard someone calling her name. She turned to see Rachel running to catch up with her. Eva's heart raced, unsure of what to expect. "Eva, wait!" Rachel called, breathless by the time she caught up. She stopped in front of her, eyes wide, her usual confidence replaced with uncertainty. "Why did you run away yesterday?" Eva swallowed hard, looking anywhere but at Rachel. "Because I ruined everything. I told you, and now everything's different. I didn't want to lose you as my friend." Rachel's face softened and she reached out, taking Eva's hand. "You haven't lost me, Eva. I was just surprised, that's all. I never realized you felt that way." Eva looked up, her eyes searching Rachel's face for any sign of rejection. "But you're with Ben." Rachel sighed, giving a small shrug. "I know, but I don't want to lose you either. You mean too much to me." For the first time in days, Eva felt a flicker of hope. Maybe things hadn't changed as much as she feared. Maybe, just maybe, their friendship would survive this. Rachel smiled, a little unsure but sincere. "We'll figure it out, okay?" Eva nodded, the knot in her chest loosening just a little. The road ahead was uncertain, but as they walked together toward home, she realized that their bond, their years of friendship, was stronger than any confession. Over the next few days, things between Eva and Rachel weren't quite the same, but they weren't as broken as Eva had feared either. Their friendship, once effortless and easy, now had a layer of tension, an unspoken understanding that neither of them fully knew how to navigate. But Rachel hadn't pulled away. If anything, she seemed determined to stay close. One Friday after school, as they walked home together like they always had, Rachel suddenly stopped and turned to Eva. "Do you want to hang out tomorrow? Just the two of us?" Rachel asked, her tone casual but her eyes searching Eva's for a reaction. Eva hesitated for a moment. Part of her was terrified of being alone with Rachel again, of facing the awkwardness that now lingered between them. But another part of her longed for things to feel normal, to go back to the way they were before. "Yeah," Eva said, offering a small smile. "That sounds good." They agreed to meet at their favorite spot by the river the next afternoon. It was the place they had always gone to when they needed to talk or escape the world, and despite the strange new dynamic between them, Eva found comfort in the familiar setting. The next day, the sun was bright and the air warm as they laid their blanket on the grass by the riverbank. The water shimmered in the light, and for a moment, everything felt as it used to. Rachel sat cross-legged, her auburn hair glinting in the sun, while Eva leaned back on her elbows, watching the clouds drift lazily across the sky. "I've been thinking a lot," Rachel said suddenly, breaking the silence. Eva tensed, not sure where the conversation was headed. She turned her head slightly to look at Rachel, her heart pounding in her chest. "About what you said," Rachel continued, her voice softer now, more thoughtful. "About you and me." Eva sat up, her pulse quickening. She had no idea what Rachel was about to say, but she braced herself for the worst. I don't want you to think that I'm upset with you, Rachel said, meeting Eva's gaze. I'm not. I guess I just never realized you saw me that way. Eva swallowed hard. I'm sorry if I made things weird. I never wanted to mess up our friendship. Rachel shook her head quickly. You didn't mess anything up. I've been thinking about it and… She paused, biting her lip. I guess I'm just trying to understand what this means for us. Eva looked down at her hands, fidgeting with the edge of the blanket. It doesn't have to mean anything. I get that you're with Ben, and I don't expect you to feel the same way. I don't know. I didn't mean to make things complicated. Rachel was quiet for a moment, her eyes studying Eva's face. I don't want to lose you, she said softly. You're too important to me. Eva looked up, surprised by the vulnerability in Rachel's voice. You won't lose me, she said, her voice firm. No matter what happens, I'll always be your friend. Rachel smiled, a soft, sad smile. Good. Because I don't think I could handle not having you in my life. The two of them sat in silence for a while, the sound of the river flowing gently beside them. It wasn't the resolution Eva had hoped for, but it was something. Maybe it was enough. As the weeks passed, their friendship began to settle into a new rhythm. The tension between them gradually eased, and though there was still a part of Eva that longed for something more, she was content just to have Rachel in her life. She focused on the moments they shared, laughing together in class, spending lazy afternoons by the river, and talking about everything and nothing at all. But one afternoon, as they sat together in the school courtyard, Rachel broke the silence with a question that caught Eva off guard. Do you still love me? Eva's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected Rachel to bring it up again, especially not so directly. For a moment, she didn't know what to say. Yeah, Eva admitted quietly, her gaze fixed on the ground. I do. Rachel nodded, as if she had been expecting that answer. I've been thinking about it a lot, she said slowly, choosing her words carefully. And I don't know how to explain it, but I've started to wonder if maybe I could feel the same way. Eva's breath caught in her throat, her mind racing. She had never expected to hear those words from Rachel, not after everything. What do you mean? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Rachel shrugged, looking a little unsure of herself. I don't know. It's just, I've always thought of myself as straight, but since you told me how you feel, I've started to question things. I don't know what it means yet, but I want to figure it out. Eva didn't know how to respond. She had dreamed about Rachel feeling the same way for years, but now that it was happening, it didn't feel real. I don't want to lead you on, Rachel continued, her voice gentle, but I think I need to explore this to figure out what I really feel. Eva's heart raced, a mix of hope and fear swirling inside her. She didn't know what would happen next, but the fact that Rachel was willing to consider the possibility was more than she had ever imagined. Whatever you need, Eva said softly, her eyes meeting Rachel's. I'm here. Rachel smiled, a soft, genuine smile that made Eva's heart flutter. Thanks, Eva. You've always been there for me. I don't know what I'd do without you. In that moment, sitting together in the sunlight, everything felt uncertain but full of possibility. Eva didn't know what the future held for them, but she knew one thing for sure. She would stand by Rachel, no matter what, just as she always had. As the weeks went on, they began to navigate the delicate balance of friendship and something more. They spent more time together, talking about their feelings, their fears, and the future. It wasn't easy, and there were moments of doubt and confusion, but slowly, They began to understand each other in ways they hadn't before. One evening, as they sat together by the river, watching the sun set over the water, Rachel turned to Eva with a look of quiet determination. "I think I know now," Rachel said softly. "I think I'm ready to give this a chance." Eva's heart swelled with emotion, her breath catching in her throat. She had waited so long to hear those words, and now that they were finally spoken, she didn't know what to say. Rachel reached out, taking Eva's hand in hers. "I don't know where this will go, but I want to find out. Together." Eva smiled, her heart overflowing with joy and hope. "Together," she agreed. And in that moment, as the last rays of sunlight danced across the river, they knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them side by side. For now they had each other, and that was enough.